Thank you.
How's the ride in?
Oh, it was great. Got to thank my boss man, Rick Hendrick, for loaning me the copter for today. We've used that thing on occasion, and it was certainly convenient today. I want to thank the governor for having me, and Kerry Tharp. I mean, the union between him and Darlington Raceway is almost too good to be true, and he's already making a huge impact on that speedway, and he knows more than anybody how important it is to this state. So it's awesome to be here to help him and work with the track and try to promote what good things they're doing down here. It's going to be a lot of fun. We didn't get to run last year, so I'm chomping at the bit to get back in the race car at Darlington. We went there this winter to actually get our clearance to get back in the car after the concussion last year. And I picked Darlington because it's one of the toughest racetracks.
Right.
It's one of the most difficult tracks physically and mentally. Probably one of the hardest tracks that we race on throughout the year. Very challenging, very technical. And everybody always told me from the very first time that I went to Darlington is you race the track. I didn't really know what that meant. We're always out there racing other guys. But if you get caught up into racing another car around there, you can get in the fence so easy there. So you have to race the track. You can only go as hard as the track will allow you to go. And it's such a challenging discipline to compete there. And anytime you can get close to wins or even win a race, you feel like you've really done something. It's so technically challenging.
It's been a track you've come very close at before, at getting to victory lane, and I know it's one you want really bad. But I think that's a cool point because of all the places you could have picked, you picked Darlington to go to, and that speaks to the significance of how tough the track is, but also its history within the sport, right? As a student of the history of the sport that you are.
Absolutely. I don't know what it is about South Carolina, but when I first started driving cars, I actually started racing down here in South Carolina at Myrtle Beach and at Florence I-95 Speedway. So we'd race on Saturday night at Myrtle Beach. We'd drive back to Concord or Kannapolis to swap the car out, get a different car. Actually, we raced at Florence on Friday night and go back and swap the car out and then drive all the way to the beach and race Saturday. We did that every weekend. We drive by Darlington Motor Speedway both ways to get to Myrtle Beach. So going by that place over and over and over, looking at it, I was talking to someone earlier today about Darlington. It's the Dale Earnhardt of racetracks. It's the Intimidator of racetracks.
That's a good way to put it.
It is. People ask me why Dad liked the place so much, and I think because he admired it being so similar to him. It really did intimidate drivers. And just driving by it as a kid before I ever got to race here, I was nervous. If I ever got to compete there, that was going to be the toughest challenge really to adapt to that racetrack. It's so narrow. You run right against the wall, lap after lap. The tires wear out and the car's slipping and sliding around, and trying to keep that car off the fence all race long is so mentally challenging. Aside from how physical the race is, it's really tough mentally. So, but yeah, the track's the oldest track in the series. It's been here the longest. So much has happened. We really, this is the track where we sort of broke out of that dirt, short track bull ring mold that the sport was kind of in its early stages. This was the first big track that they built. It's went through a few evolutions. There used to only be one groove in turn 1 and 2. Yeah. It was literally one groove wide. And it's kind of changed over the years, but it certainly is. It's the one track that it's the first big track they built to where they said, man, these cars are going to be going faster and faster and faster, and it's incredible what we're able to do out there. But this one was the one that broke the mold, and then that's when you started. Daytona got built after this, and then we started getting tracks like Atlanta and other racetracks getting built that were bigger and larger. So. Darlington definitely was the catalyst to our sport, really putting it into the mainstream.
But I don't think when Harold Brazington built the track, he was expecting you to go as fast as
Yeah.
as you're going now at the track, right?
No, absolutely not. And it's a real challenge to try to get around there as fast as you can without making any mistakes. Qualifying is probably the most nerve-wracking track we qualify at because of how on edge you are and how fast you have to go. And again, you got to run all these laps right on the fence. It's a real test.
How important has the throwback weekend become? Because as we mentioned, you love the history of this sport.
I always was concerned that we were always, I guess, recognizing and giving credit to the history of the sport, the legends, the drivers that were before us, the iconic cars, the car owners, all the personalities that have came in and out of the sport. All that color and energy is what got us to where we are today. So we never really had, we never really focused on a specific time in the season to acknowledge that. And you had various things pop up throughout the season, milestones and stuff like that, but the sport needed a throwback weekend. It needed an opportunity where we would celebrate the history, and no better track matches that than Darlington because of its history. It's the perfect racetrack to have the throwback weekend. And what it's become, I think, is really a lot of fun. Mm-hmm. All the drivers sort of get to take an opportunity to tip the cap to some of the guys that raced in the sport and the history of the sport with the paint schemes. The teams get really, really creative with it, bringing back some of the old uniforms, and you can almost feel like you go back in time because these guys are really pouring on the creativity and getting kind of up in the ante each year. At first, this was like a 3-year plan, really, to have a throwback weekend, and I'm glad that Kerry said it's going to be here forever because this is where it belongs, and that's the one thing that Darlington can offer is us one race each year to really celebrate a lot of the history. You get all the old drivers and legends from the sport that can come around and enjoy a race, and we get to see them out on pit road, and the fans can shake their hand, the drivers can shake their hand. That's incredible to be able to see those guys. They don't get out to the tracks that much, and we obviously are pulled in all kinds of different directions, so we don't get to see these fellas as much as we'd like to. So Darlington's providing that opportunity, and it's got a lot of potential. It keeps, like I say, the creativity keeps growing each year. Everybody's up in the ante each season, and it's just going to be fun seeing what it becomes. It's going to continue to evolve.
And that evening has such an electric atmosphere to it. Is that the closest you feel connected to the history of the sport when you see all those guys and see all the old paint schemes? And it just feels different. It feels like a big-time event, doesn't it?
It certainly is. It has more personality than just your average race weekend. And Darlington always kind of did. Everybody, a lot of people kind of tense up when Darlington would come around, but all the fans would get really excited because it was always a great race, and it's a real gritty race. Really tough on the cars, really push the machines and the mechanics to the edge as well as the drivers, and so it's always had its own. It's always stood out, but this with the throwback, it certainly does have much more personality, I think. And what Kerry said that Kurt Busch touched on, he'd rather win here than Indy. It's because of not only the history, but just how hard it is. When you win at Darlington, it's no fluke.
Yeah.
Only talented, smart race car drivers win races here. And so when you win there, you put yourself in a special category of capable, true drivers, true racers. And you don't back into a win at Darlington. You have to be good, and the car's got to be great.
You got the Daytona 500 trophy. You have the Martinsville clock. Is this the biggest one that's missing on the resume that you want?
I think it's the one that you would take a lot of pride in, the one that you might take the most pride in because of how difficult the track is and how much talent I believe it takes to do well there. How tough it is mentally and physically that I spoke about. I think it's when you get a Darlington trophy, you're going to put that in the middle of the mantle somewhere. That's the one you're going to want people to see first when they walk into the house, and that's the one you would definitely showcase.